You probably think you're in complete control of all the choices you make every day, right? Well, what if I told you that many of those decisions are actually being guided by tiny, almost invisible forces all around you? In this explainer, we're going to dive into the book Nudge and pull back the curtain on these hidden forces that shape our world.
All right, to get what this is all about, let's start with a simple puzzle. Let's put you in the driver's seat. You're in charge of a school cafeteria, and your goal is to get kids to eat healthier, to pick up an apple instead of a candy bar. So what's your game plan? What do you do?
Okay, so you could try lecturing them about vitamins or maybe even ban the junk food altogether, but there's a much, much simpler way. You just rearrange the food. Seriously, by putting the fruit right at eye level and maybe moving the desserts to a less convenient spot, you can boost fruit sales like crazy. And that one simple change reveals a really profound idea. And that's because the person who decides where the food goes, they're what the authors of Nudge call a choice architect. And here's the thing, it turns out they are absolutely everywhere. So what is a choice architect? Well, it's basically anyone who sets up the environment where you make a decision. Think about a doctor explaining different treatments, or a web designer figuring out the layout of a sign-up page, or even a parent giving a kid options for their chores. The key takeaway is that their design influences your choice, whether they mean to or not. And this brings us to a really crucial point. There is no such thing as a neutral design. It just doesn't exist. The way a grocery store is laid out, the default settings on a new app, the order of questions on a form, every single detail nudges you one way or another. Everything matters. Okay, one of the most famous and kind of funny examples of this comes from the Amsterdam airport. They etched a tiny little picture of a housefly inside each urinal. Why? Well, it gave men something to aim at. And get this, that incredibly simple, ridiculously cheap nudge reduced spillage by a whopping 80%. 80%! Now that's the power of smart choice architecture.
So why are we so easily swayed by things like a picture of a fly? To understand that, we kind of have to look at how our own brains are wired. It's almost like there are two different systems running the show up there. On one side, you have your automatic system. The book calls this your inner Homer Simpson. It runs on gut feelings, it's super fast, and let's be honest, it's pretty lazy. Then you have your reflective system. Think of this as your inner Mr. Spock. It's logical, analytical, and very deliberate. But firing it up takes real effort. Want to see this in action? Okay, here's a classic brain teaser. Don't think too hard, just go with the very first answer that pops into your head. Ready? Now, I'm willing to bet that your automatic system, your inner Homer, just shouted 10 cents. But that's not right. Think it through for a second. If the ball was 10 cents and the bat was $1 more, that's $1.10. The total would be $1.20. The correct answer is actually 5 cents. That makes the bat $1.05. See? It's a simple problem for your reflective system, but your automatic system jumps on the easy, intuitive, and wrong answer first. And that little puzzle perfectly illustrates a huge idea in the book. We aren't econs, these perfectly rational, calculating robots from economics textbooks. We're humans. We're flawed, we're biased, and we're constantly being influenced by the world around us. And because we're these fallible humans and not perfect econs, choice architects can actually design things that help us. They can create environments that nudge us toward making better decisions, the kinds of decisions we'd probably make for ourselves if we had endless time and brain power.
And maybe the single most powerful nudge of them all is the default option. This is simply the choice that gets made for you if you don't do anything at all. We just saw how our brains like to take the easy way out, and defaults are the ultimate path of least resistance.
The book has a fantastic name for this tendency, the yeah, whatever heuristic. You know that feeling, right? You're faced with a complicated decision, and your brain just kind of shrugs and goes, yeah, whatever. And you just go with the pre-selected option. This has massive, massive implications.
Just look at company retirement plans. When employees had to actively sign up, that's an opt-in system, fewer than half of them bothered. But then the company just flipped the switch. They made enrollment the default, so you had to actively opt out if you didn't want it. The result? Participation shot up to 86%. Same plan, same people, just a different default.
Now, all of this nudging sounds pretty good, but choice architecture isn't always used to help us.
The authors also talk about the dark side of this, and they have a perfect name for it: sludge. The difference is really simple. A nudge makes a good choice easy by getting rid of friction. Sludge does the opposite. It adds friction. It throws up roadblocks, like confusing forms or hidden buttons, to stop you from doing something you probably want to do. A brilliant example of a good nudge is the Save More Tomorrow program. It's genius. You simply agree now to increase your retirement savings later whenever you get a pay raise. The results are amazing. People's savings rates quadrupled, and they didn't even feel it because their take-home pay never actually went down. It's painless saving.
And now, an example of sludge that I'm sure we've all experienced. Signing up for that magazine or streaming service? Super easy, one click. But trying to cancel? Suddenly you have to give 14 days notice, you can't do it online, you have to call an international phone number and only during their business hours. That's not choice architecture, that is a choice fortress. It's pure sludge, designed to trap you.
So, once you start to understand these tools, nudges and sludges, you can see how they can be used to tackle some of society's really big challenges, way beyond just cafeterias and retirement plans. Check out the data on organ donation rates. It is absolutely staggering. In countries like Germany, where you have to actively opt in to be a donor, only about 12% of people are on the registry. But in opt-out countries like Austria, where you're a donor by default unless you say no, the rate is nearly 99%. Looking at this, you'd think, well, case closed. Just change the default.
But here's where it gets more complicated. The authors point out a crucial detail. Even in those opt-out countries, in practice, doctors almost always ask the family for final consent anyway. So just flipping the default isn't some magic wand. The reality on the ground is a lot messier than the simple chart might suggest.
And this all highlights a really important principle from the book. Even when we're nudging people, it's essential that they can still easily choose to go their own way. A nudge should be easy to avoid. Ultimately, that freedom to choose is our best line of defense against bad or manipulative designs.
So choice architecture is all around us. It's shaping our lives every single day. It can be used for good, helping us eat better, save more, and live healthier lives. Or it can be used as sludge, to confuse and trap us. The question isn't whether this architecture exists. It does. The real question is, now that you can see it, what will you choose to build?